Okay, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to you. You're welcome to today's edition of the show Talk Nigeria on Greetings 15.7, reaches you Mondays through Fridays on this time. And we talk some very, very important issues as it affects Nigeria, Africa, and the world at large. Welcome to today's edition of it. My name is Chris Ogogo, and I'm your host. And, well, we do have a full house with heavyweights today on the show, so I'm super excited, of course, with the guests that we have today. And we'll be discussing some very, very interesting issues as it concerns the fallout of the presidential and national assembly elections across Nigeria, which held at the weekend. And if, for some reason, you haven't heard or you do not know, well, President Muhammadu Buhari has been re-elected for another 4-year term, which begins from the 29th of May of this year. Okay, and joining us on the show this morning is Mr. Tope Fashola, who, I don't know if I should say is or was now the presidential candidate of the Abundant Nigeria Renewal Party, ANRP, in the just concluded presidential election. He's live with us in the studio this morning. It's a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Morning, Chris. It's great to be here.
Yes.
Morning, listeners.
Which one is it? Is or was?
I think it's was now.
Okay.
That's over.
Okay, so
over
I'm correct.
Yeah.
But we have somebody who was a presidential candidate for the National Interest Party. She was here before the elections, and she's here again. Mrs. Eunice Atuajide, it is a pleasure to have you again on the show. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we also do have a lawyer and a political analyst as well. He's a regular guest on Talk Nigeria, Barrister Victor Giwa. It is a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Chris. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you. And we also have another regular on the show, Mr. Chidi Jacobs, is a political analyst as well. It is a pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So, let me start with you, gentlemen, and get your thoughts on the election. Let me start with you, Mr. Jacobs. We were here on Saturday while the elections were happening, and we did talk about it, but at the time, the results were not out, obviously, and we didn't know who was going to win. But now the results are out, and we do have a winner. So, really, what was your reaction when the results were finally announced, and how would you rate the entire process?
Thank you, Chris. Personally, I was going to say this whether regardless of who won, especially between the two main candidates. A winner has been announced, but I do feel that the people who lost in this entire process is Nigeria and Nigerians, because the question I want to ask you personally, let me ask you this personally: if you have a son, will you, after looking at this entire process, will you actually go home and look at them in the face and say, you know what, we have a country where the system works, where the election works, go get your PVs and vote next time? I doubt if you do that. So if you have a process that makes us distrust things that happen, that make us have not more confidence as we should. So at the end of it, it doesn't matter to me personally who won, whether PDP or APC. I was going to say this because actually from here on Saturday, because of what we saw, the reports that came in and what actually happened, Nigerians are the ones who lost here. That's just my personal opinion.
Interesting. Let's get to you, Barrister Giwa. You were also here shortly before the elections, and we did, speak about it, especially the pronouncements that was made by the president about what would happen to ballot box snatchers and all that. But overall, what was your impression of the process?
Well, Chris, the truth of the matter is that I feel so, I'm saddened by the whole process. Not because of what I heard, it's because of what I saw. I have been an election observer since 2000. I was MBA election observer in 2015 presidential election. If you watch Channel Television, you find out that each time they talk about the 2015 election, you see when I was trying to coordinate what happened at the first point in Zone 4. And I was also a presidential election observer for this election. And I was parlayed with the Police Service Commission. We were in Kuje, I was in Kwali, Kuje, I was in Karo, that's Nasarawa State. I was in the suburb, to really get a picture of what happened. And I have been in civil society. I'm the national coordinator, advocate for people's rights and justice. I need to say that what we have seen in this 2019 election is we have undermined the integrity of the process compared to the elegance of the process. People rated this election based on the elegance, but there's what we call the sanctity of the process. And you will see the indication, you will see the indices. And the most appalling of it is when the INEC chairman came back during the period of which he wanted to announce the election to say that he is going to announce the election as collated. That language is not part of our electoral lexicon. We have accredited voters and unaccredited voters. So when you are accredited, which means that you are ripe to vote. Now, when you say you now announce election based on what was collated, and you saw when Festus Keyamo was trying to make that argument that, oh, somewhere in Rivers State, the coalition officer brought the HEOB, who is the last person to make such give the result, brought a result sheet, and the coalition officer for the presidential election did not accept the result. Now, we want to build something or nothing. And that was the argument he was trying to build. Now, when the Section 68 of the Electoral Act says that coalition must start from the ward, it goes without saying that it comes from the polling unit, it will move it to the ward, from the ward it goes to the coalition, for the coalition center, and it goes to the presidential level. So the coalition center, so for example, the chairman of INEC, who's the chief returning officer for the presidential election, can now announce a result that was not reflected from the poll. So what it means, therefore, is that if I am a coalition officer, or if I'm an electoral officer and I put together certain results, put it in an election sheet, he is saying that he can announce the result without looking at the accredited votes. And that is why we are seeing a very distorted figures, even while they were collating these results. And so it is yes, the result has been announced, that is fair, but we have undermined the integrity of the process for the elegance of the process, and that is so unfair, and it has brought down the morale of Nigerians. And let me tell you what the impact of that. It is like what is happening in the judiciary. Agbakuba has sorry for going further, but you see, a lot of people are saying, look, it doesn't need to go to court because it doesn't have confidence, because Nigerians are losing faith in the judiciary. Why? Because of what has happened prior to the election. Do we live in a system like that? Are we going to allow a system like that to go on?
Okay.
And that is why there's a high need for us to really stop this kind of, debasing of our system.
Okay.
And I think the electoral system was just is above average.
Okay, we're trying to gauge your thoughts really on how the processes went during the National Assembly and presidential elections at the weekend. So let's get to you now, Mrs. Atuejide. You were supposed to be on the ballot before you...
I was on the ballot all the way.
Yeah, you were on the ballot, but you withdrew your candidacy.
I didn't. I never withdrew my candidates. I just told my followers to please join me in voting Atiku Abubakar, because he was the only one amongst all 73 of us who stood a chance to wipe out Buhari. That's what I did.
So, I mean, if you were on the ballot and you were expecting votes, how would you ask your followers to vote for someone else?
Because I'd made up my mind on the 16th of February when I saw what APC had planned for us, that this wasn't going to be a fair battle, and I needed to regroup and make sure that every Nigerian who had me on their mind to vote for changed that mind the way I had changed it and joined me in voting Atiku Abubakar. And I'm very happy that today we can all see what fears I had.
Okay, so, but let's get your thoughts really on the processes for the elections.
For me,
were you impressed?
No, I wasn't, and the person I am most ashamed of is Mahmood Yakubu. He gave us, I am the Deputy National Secretary of the Interparty Advisory Council, so we always had this one-on-one interactions with INEC. We made sure we made it clear to them we need to collate results as they're happening at the polling units. Let it be coming up to the center in Abuja, so that whatever is going on from the polling unit and then goes to the wards and then later goes to the local government areas and then to the states, we are following it in the center, and I know they did that. I know they installed facilities, cloud networks, to make sure that the results were coming straight to them in Abuja from absolutely all the 176,000 polling units. So I am very sure that Yakubu Mahmood knows the exact figures that were collated from each polling unit before the results started going through the words and everything and getting the disaster we saw eventually, but still went all out to announce numbers that he knew were false.
Okay, let's get to you now, Mr. Fasua. I could see your reaction and the way you reacted when she was going to talk. But first things first, let's get your impression of the process. You didn't withdraw your candidacy.
Nope.
You didn't ask your followers to vote for anybody else.
Nope.
You were on the ballot.
Absolutely.
What would you say your impression has been of the process?
Well, it seemed like a normal election day to me. In most parts, it was peaceful. That's what we heard. Later on, we saw that in places like Rivers, Lagos, and so on, there was violence. At last count, anything between 20 and 35 people have died. You know, some of them coppers. You know, I saw that the election was run fully by coppers. You know, at every polling unit. And I was wondering, where are the real staff of INEC? No one was around to take any responsibility for anything. And they just left these coppers open to the elements, you know, and that to the extent that some of them could be killed, you know what I'm saying? So we needed to know exactly who's running election in Nigeria and whether we can leave this to youth coppers to run. Well, at the end of the day, my party, we were 36th. We came 36th in the polls, about 4,340 votes. But those are 4,340 very enlightened people who know exactly where this country should be heading. But of course, unfortunately, most Nigerians believe that it was a straight fight between Atiku and Buhari, both of whom do not impress me. I'm not here, I can't support either of them. Both of them are part of the problems of this country, if you ask me. Atiku had been in government before. He had run government. He didn't make any salutary impact, in my view, on the real issues and the real problems of this country. The biggest resource of this country, the most important resource of this country, are its children. Our children. If you look at, I always give example of the biggest companies in the world by market value. You know, these are companies started by mere children. You know, some of them in dormitories of their universities. You know, we're talking about Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, and co. You know, Apple, Google, and so on. You know, and here we are. Both of them are from a region in this country where there's a deliberate mass production of ignorance. Deliberate. I did my campaign. I went through the length and breadth of this country. I was in about 30 to 33 states. I went to the northwest, the northeast, the north central, southeast, southwest of this country. I saw, by the time I went to the north, I found that I saw why Buhari will win. Number one. Number two, by the time I came to the south, even down in Uyo, down to, all the other places, where we visited, down to Abeokuta, down to Shaki, in Oyo State, I saw why poverty reigns and why Buhari will win. Or why, at least, why people believe that it's a straight fight between PDP and APC. These two parties are nothing but one. Number two, these two parties are there at the expense of Nigerians. And listen, the reason why I say this is that, I was on the street campaigning and people would say, Oga, if you don't give me money, forget it. And of course, they were out to rip you off.
We're talking about the elections now.
Let's focus on the elections now and let's take a look at your party. Because you keep saying that the two major political parties are the problems we have in this country. But then someone would ask, considering that just political terrain, I mean, we know what is involved and what it takes to win elections in Nigeria.
And what does it take? Money.
Yes, a lot of money. Quite
a lot of money. I mean, we have to admit
huge amounts of money.
Let me have my time.
Hold on, please.
Yes.
A lot of money. I mean, we have to admit that. You need to spend a lot of money.
Why do you have to spend a lot of money? It's because of decades of misgovernance.
Hold on, Mr. Fasua.
Decades of misgovernance and deliberate impoverishment of the people of this country.
Hold on, we'll get to that point. Now, the question I'm trying to ask is this. Before you threw your hat in the ring, did you not see all of these things? Did you not analyze the situation? Did you not expect that situations like this would arise? Did you not expect that you go somewhere to campaign and somebody would tell you that if you didn't give them money, they weren't going to vote for you? Didn't you see all of this?
Of course, that was there. Number one, the second thing is that you needed to know the extent of the problem. I personally did not know the extent, for example, of the deliberateness of manufacturing of ignorance in this country. And the fact that it's not even only a northern affair, it's now becoming a general affair because of the general misgovernance. I was going to take a dig at the lawyers, and I think we have at least 2 of them here.
Yes.
Even MBA elections that Mr. Giwa was part of the supervision is still today fraught. And I'm thinking, you know, the problem is perhaps in our stars. That even we can't even organize MBA elections without problem. Not to talk of other elections around the country. You know, so to a large extent, for me, I saw clearly. Okay, now what happened in this election was a bit more enlightened people, all right, believed that Atiku was the one to go, even down to people everywhere in the southeast, southwest. Mo Alu, in spite of all the work he put in, got 21,000 votes.
I didn't know
Mrs. Atwajide, please.
Meant to be
He's speaking for nearly an hour now.
Mrs. Atwajide, just please. I'm the one moderating the show, please. Please, go on, Mr. Faswa. Go on and make your point, please.
Showore got 33,900 votes. These guys, you know, in all of us and all of you who were struggling to get heard, to be the debates, to get in the debates and so on. Showore came first, he came in 10th position. The guy that came 3rd position, a PCP, you know, the logo looks like PDP. People are probably, so you can see that the illiteracy, ignorance and so on took hold of the election. Equally poverty, you know what I'm saying? Perhaps people can't even see well and people are just thumbprinting everywhere. Any party that's close to APC or to PDP certainly got a lot more votes, even when they didn't campaign. Even when many of them had withdrawn, they were still getting the votes, meaning that there's a problem with the dissemination of information down to even your followers. They say, don't vote for me. They don't know that they didn't know you said that. Parties are up to 40 parties stepped down for Atiku much earlier. Before them units spoke, 40 parties, they were still on the ballot. They stepped down about 3 months to the elections. 12 more parties stepped down, of course, for Buhari the day before or 2 days before. All of them were on the ballot. So we had an unwieldy ballot. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, we'll talk about that, you know, the proliferation of political parties in Nigeria. We'll talk about that as the show progresses. But let me get back to you, Mr. Jacobs. As it is, you've listened from 2 persons who were on the ballot. And, you know, they come from 2 parties that are not exactly considered as the biggest parties, political parties in Nigeria. Looking at it and the peculiarities of elections in Nigeria, the peculiarities of political parties, the structures in Nigeria, did you, in your mind at any point, think these other parties really stood any significant chance of upsetting the apple cart?
Unfortunately, the answer is no. From the very beginning, just knowing that it doesn't take, I don't need to be a rocket scientist to know what's going on in this country. In some other climate, yeah, they might be able to do better, where you can actually speak to people, present your programs, and they hear you out. But like he pointed out, there are quite a lot of issues. There are people who don't even understand what you're talking about. But then I would say something that might be difficult for people to understand. Our problem goes beyond systems. Our problems goes beyond the policies. Because if you look closely what is going on in this country, you find out that what somebody from one side of the country defines as Nigeria is different from what somebody else defines as Nigeria. There are people who think that Nigeria is Nigeria because my person is there, our person is there, so now it's Nigeria. If that person is not there, then it's no longer Nigeria. So you have, do we even have, let me say it this way, I think our problem is more fundamental before you even start coming up to the area of the systems. And this is what rolls down to all the things that we do. How much, I was here last Saturday and we're talking about INEC, we're talking about what was going on. But have you asked yourself this question? How much can even the staff of INEC, he mentioned coppers, how much can they withstand when there is a constant pressure by powerful people with a lot of money who can intimidate you, who can do whatever? How much can those kids? So even if we build a system that that is better than this, what is that system going to produce for us when there are people who are intentionally determined to have an outcome? We have bullion van carrying men with money, powerful everywhere. How much can the system itself take? So why is that? Because this is not about Nigeria. This is about, you know, we have a, I define it this way. When you talk about Nigeria, if you look at the complete picture of Nigeria, what we have here is not, it's an amalgamation of different interest groups. Everybody pulling what they think belongs theirs. It's like a husband and wife that don't want to stay together. Even good morning creates a tension. Okay, so those are I think I say this because when we discuss the issue of Nigeria, we always talk about the symptoms. It's like somebody who has a malaria, there's a virus, there's the symptoms. And all what we are seeing here is just the expression of the key issue. What is it that we define as Nigeria? What exactly is this country?
Okay, to you guys listening to us out there, because I would like my guests to, talk as much as possible. We'll only entertain 3 calls on the show today, so it's going to be fiercely competitive for those of you who would want to contribute on the show today. So we'll take just 1 call for now. So the numbers to call to be a part of it: 070-1057-0088 or 070-1057-0909. But you can send us text messages if you can't get across to us via phone calls. You can send us text messages to 070-1057-0025. Let me get back to you now, Vice Tagiwa. As it is, from what all of them have said, it seems like we do have a structural problem. Do you think we need to enact new laws to enable us to do what is right? Or you think it is more of we as a people not wanting or not willing to actually do what is right, even when we know what is right?
No, I don't want to say that. I don't want to agree with you that we have a structural problem.
No, I'm asking. I'm not saying we do. I'm just asking a question. But sorry, before you continue, we have your namesake, Victor, who is calling us from Nyanya. Hello, Victor. Good morning. Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to have you.
Presidential candidate in the House.
Yeah, Mr. Fasua.
Particular program is the democracy today, and he's speaking the same thing. And my problem is that he's not a patriotic Nigerian.
Why do you say that, Victor?
That was the lesson. I mean, it's like talking about Nigerians and stuff like that. And it's not a thing about a leader. It's not a character of the leader.
Okay, Victor, thank you very much for your contribution. We understand your opinions, but please try as much as possible not to disparage anybody's character, all right? Thank you very much for that. So, by Sagiwa, yes, you were trying to make a point.
Yes, we don't always have, we don't only have a, I don't want to consider it's a structural problem, we have a mindset problem. Now, if you look at, let us take some of the elements of the election. In Imo State, there was a particular coalition officer who was announcing an election, and he was saying that on air, and he was announcing it under duress. It is elementary. In short, it was Reverend Holmes, Justice Holmes, that said that let us elucidate the obvious before we obliterate the obscure. That is what was obvious in law everywhere, even in hell. When you say that you are doing something under duress, it is invalid on the face of it. It is invalid. The same person has been returned. When somebody was saying that, look, I'm announcing the result under duress, and you mean who put him under duress? Where were the security officers? What were the circumstances? Is it not enough for the various to investigate why that person was under duress, and you collected the result, brought it to Abuja to come and, to be part of the system? So the whole essence of this process is that some people we all have a mindset problem. If, for example, a result was brought in, somebody is forced to announce a false result, there's nothing wrong for somebody who is in charge to say, excuse me, that result cannot stand. You don't need an angel to do that. I have worked for INEC as an ad hoc staff in Edo State. At a point, let me tell you, when we were doing registration, I was actually called in by a politician to say, okay, please, you have a lot of experiences in this area. Please, we want you to come and help us register voters to get higher number of registered voters, because, of course, there's a way they do it. I have been in this process for quite some time, and I know how systems are rigged. So when the rule was that if you are not trained, you cannot become, you cannot participate in the registration of voters, because they did a lot of process. Do you know that when I got to this particular place, people brought in, politicians started bringing members of political party to come and be part of the registration of adult staff, of voters. And I said, no, I'm not going to accept it. I said, no, the rule is that if you are not part of the process, if you have not applied for you to be part of the adult staff, go through the training, you cannot be part of the system. And I told them I'm not going to allow them. It was not a structural thing, it was a person thing. I said, no, this is so. That is what is wrong with our system. And so, you see, in an insane world, it's an act of insanity for you to be in an insane society and want to be sane. Nigeria has its own peculiarity. If you go to some places in the north, what is important for them is power. What is important? They don't want, some people, places in the north, they don't want to eat salad. They want to drink their tuwo or whatever it is. And so if you go there and promise them salad, you are out of the point. So we must be able to understand the vagaries of Nigeria. However, what I'm saying is that the system, people who mount the system must be able, you are not just there to follow the system. You must be able to correct the system. Okay. And we must be able to interrogate when issues are flouted. Okay. And that is what INEC has failed to do. For example, if you look at, why will you say in Borno State, you recorded 900,000 people who came out to vote in a war-torn that 2 days before the election, the governor was prevented from going to campaign. You come out with 900,000 votes. And in Akwa Ibom State, you came out with less than 500,000 votes. And you will be asking me, it was because some person somewhere deliberately frustrated the process and just to get to a passive and expected end. Right. And that is just bad for
now, let me come to you, Mrs. Atwejide. Before the elections, months before the elections, there was this talk of the third force. Now, like Mr. Faso has said, that people should have looked beyond the APC and the PDP. But then, the other parties that are not as big as the APC and the PDP tried to come together to have a consensus candidate, but for some reason, it didn't work. I don't know if your party was a member of that pact, I think they called it. It didn't work out. Do you think the reason why we have what we have now is because the other people or the other parties who are supposed to have been the third force were not upright enough in the sense of them coming together, pooling their resources together, and actually forming a really strong third force?
I think that's a perfect question for me, because I started out after we had formed the National Interest Party into a political party, persuading all these people to come together under one political platform. We pick one of us, and the rest of us put everything we have into developing the structures and getting the manpower we needed to not only penetrate the system, but even stand a slight chance of conquering the establishment. We had a very good chance when all of us were coming out, February, March, April. The idea was everybody drop your own selfish interest, come together. Only one of us can lead, only one. But once that person is in front and the rest of us are backing him or her, and we all put all our money, a lot of us had hundreds of millions at this time. A lot of us had several people who were looking up to us. All they needed was that united force, and then we could have actually broken through. Of course, we would have needed people in all the 176,000 polling units, but guess what? Had we put ourselves together the way I was telling all these people to do, Nigerians would have supported us, would have seen Operation Occupy Nigeria the way it has never been done in this country, because everybody was tired. Everybody was tired of PDP, everybody was tired of APC, everybody was tired of Buhari and his crew, everybody was tired of Obasanjo. People were ready to come together and fight the system. But we, that could be at the forefront of it all, we refused to see the opportunity, we refused to join forces, we refused to put our selfish interests behind us and just pick one of us to lead the way, so that the rest of us could back that person, and Nigerians would have supported us with their money, with their time, with their properties. They were ready, but we refused to let them come. That's why we have this disaster, and I have told them, plus Wole Soyinka, I know all of them personally. I had serious relationships with all of them. I tried hard, and I saw really, really horrible elements to many of them. I don't want to disparage anybody, but it was too much of self-centeredness that led to the scatter we saw.
Okay.
And that's what led to this situation where none of us even has followers that will come up and vote for us if we don't get it together next time.
Okay. The phone lines are open, so we'll take our second call. Remember, we're taking just 3 calls. 070-1057-0088, 070-1057-0909, or you send us a text message to 070-1057-0025. Before I get to Mr. Fashua, Mr. Jacobs, you wanted to add that, but just be as brief as possible.
Sure. I just wanted to go. What she described here is the real reason, is the real problem we have in this country. Because it has always been about what I want, what works for me as a person. Let me just give you a little example. When this whole thing started, even though I knew that some of the young parties didn't stand a chance, I personally because I wanted to encourage that process. Even if they don't win, I personally, on my own account, went to one of them, offered my services. I have the things I do for free.
Okay.
But then when I started to...
Let's take this call.
Yes.
Daniel is calling us from Guarimpa. Hello, Daniel. Good morning. Yes, good morning.
So my question to you and the panelists is, it has happened. I had you trying to encourage somebody to go out again and do it again. This time around, next time, there's something we must do. We must find a way to find a redress to what happened. Just like what we are talking about security. When, as a people, we refuse to do something, we find out that our houses will be burned and things will be stolen. So it's not enough to tell us to accept the result and go out again.
Daniel, I haven't asked anyone to accept the results. All I have said is for those, because a lot of persons have called or sent in text messages. I have not asked, Daniel, please, hello Daniel. I have not asked anyone to accept the results. What I have said is, do not, hold on Daniel, let me clarify things for you. Hold on, Daniel, okay, there can only be one person talking and obviously it's going to be me. See, of course I'm horrible. Now, the thing is, what I said is, you know, to all of you sitting here, and I believe you encourage, say the same thing to them, I've received a number of phone calls, text messages, people saying they're not going to participate again, they're not going to vote again. And all I've said is, do not be discouraged. You have to keep getting yourself involved. I didn't say, oh, accept the result. No. Until I said it's going to court, I can't tell you don't go to court.
You're not the court now.
So, I mean, I can't tell you accept the result. What I have said is, please do not be discouraged. If there are elections tomorrow, go out there and vote. You have to vote, because if you do not participate, how then do you hold somebody accountable for saying, oh, they haven't done this? Because, I mean, in the first place, you didn't contribute anything. But let's get to Mr. Fashua now and stay on the issue of coming together. There was something you said earlier that you noticed when you were campaigning, that there were some enlightened Nigerians who were looking beyond the APC and the PDP. But then, you guys are supposed to, your party was a part of it, you guys are supposed to have this pact thing where the other parties would come together and nominate one candidate, and the other people would support that candidate. For some reason, it fell apart. I'd like you to tell us here what really happened with PACT and why it fell apart. And two, don't you think, for all you preach, when I say you, I don't mean you personally, I mean the other, people in your category of parties and candidates, don't you think you guys let those set of Nigerians down by even failing within yourselves? Mm-hmm. To even come together?
No, I think there's too much naivety in the air, especially among the younger people in this country. They don't know what politics is. So I think people have to get involved in politics to know. Politics is not a nice place to be. When even your own brother will stab you behind the back. Don't assume that simply because you're wearing nice ties and wearing good clothes and you come together, you're speaking good English, you believe that, people are going to play straight. People don't play straight. If power is on the table, power, which they call it the strongest aphrodisiac, is on the table, be ready for anything. So actually we did go into that pact and we thought that everything was straight. One of the things I said, I had a difference with them in pact. I made it clear and they said, oh, well, if you are not comfortable with what we're doing, leave. And I left. And the difference was I wanted it to be very open. I said, look, our meeting should be on Facebook Live. we should have debate. Let's begin to debate among ourselves, 2-2. We don't have to hire Yaradua Center or Sheraton. We can actually put that debate on Facebook Live. It's almost free. Let Nigerian youths get involved. However, and of course they said no. You know, they said, look, we're going to choose among us. So we're just 11 or 12 of us. Meanwhile, there were like, at that time, we were still aspirants. There were like more than 100 aspirants on the other side that we weren't talking to. So at best, what would have happened with PACT was that we would choose one person and take out 11 people. However, there was 90 other people elsewhere who you can't stop because they were not part of you. That would be silly. And indeed, at the end of the day, when they actually agreed, quote unquote, Obieze Kwesili was the umpire, and they chose Fela. I was in there. I'd left like 2 weeks before, and then you drop someone like Moghalu, and I felt to a large extent that look, that wasn't fair, even though I wasn't part of it. But I mean, I can't go with that. And of course, that decision they took in PACT wasn't binding on the Nigerian people. Number two, I think social media is clearly overrated in these elections, as we can see, right? That all of this hoopla on social media, all of this noise on Twitter, on Facebook, Instagram, and all of that came to naught. If we were really serious, only 3% of the votes went to any party aside from APC and PDP. Only 3%. 97% of the votes went to Atiku and Buhari. So that's something to chew on. To know that, look, at the end, let's not deceive ourselves. So the issue is not, now, I would take exception to the idea that all that happened was you guys did not drop your selfish interest. You're assuming that people went there with selfish interest. A lot of people went there with national interest, which is the name of Unisys party. You have to understand that people went with national interest. And look, for someone like me, I wasn't as interested in going to sit in Aso Villa as in ensuring that we begin to think differently in this country. The election process turned me into an activist. I was on the street 4 times demonstrating about the budget of this country. And I will tell you what, by the actions I was taking, I was seeing that already even the government as sitting right now is beginning to think differently in a certain way. People like the Minister of Finance said, we know that our budget is too small. These are some of the things that we're saying.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Do you think you guys expected too much too soon?
No.
Because, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Do you think you guys expected too much too soon? Because I don't know if I should say the consensus, but the popular opinion out there is that some of you guys would actually probably have won if you had ran to become either.
Let me stop you there.
Hold on, no, don't stop me yet.
Okay.
I'm still in motion. There's this popular opinion out there that most of you guys probably had won if you had run for the House of Reps, Senate, and even, governorship of your respective state. Now, as it is at this point in time, don't you think you guys thought maybe you could just come in with, like you said, good English, sweet ties, sweet suits, and you would change the status quo in one fell swoop?
We don't have to change the status quo in one fell swoop, but the status quo is changing. Let me tell you, my own personal experience is that, look, I was on the street more than 4 times. I've been writing petitions to the sitting government. My idea is, look, even as aspirant, as candidate, I need to be punching hard, all right, and punching right at the top, and that's the reason why I'm in this for. I'm not in it for a political career. And, I started seeing that, okay, the Minister of Finance was talking, okay, our growth target in the economy should be 3.1%. And the IMF says, no, you guys are planning too hard. And then they said, no, we should be even doing double digit. These are the things that I'm advocating for. A better growth, whatever, a bigger GDP, and all of that are the things that I'm advocating for. And I think these things are in play right now. And I think so. Our contesting, not necessarily for me, is that we should go and sit in Aso Villa, but what ideas do we have? And I told even some of my colleagues who were candidates together that, look, the best bet we have is to begin to throw all our ideas in the space, that no matter who wins, we're going to be, at least let this country begin to change in a very marked and salutary manner. Now, very, very quickly, to let you know that, look, it's not that we were too ambitious. But also, if you say we're too ambitious, perhaps Nigerians who were too ambitious. This is the first time for a fella to come up, for myself to come up, for Moghalu to come up. What makes everybody think that we must then, you come up and then, why are you not fusing into one person, give us one person? No. Why are you not saying that, look, okay, you guys have come up. Perhaps the next time, go and give us one person. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Rather than saying that you want to get everything done. And mind you, sir, there were people who are going for governor, who are young too. A lot of these people who say this thing, they ignore all of those people who are going for governor, Senate, House of Reps. You know, they just believe they are nobody because they are not going for president. Then it's a psychological bias. You are not looking at those going for president. And why are you used? At 47, you say I can't go for president. Okay. Buhari has been running this country since he was 39.
Mr. Faswa,
so what are we talking about?
Faswa, calm down. I understand, how passionate you are, but just calm down. Let me get to my hold on, Mrs. Atwejide. Hold on.
I want to rebut.
No, I don't know. Hold on, we're not doing rebuttals.
No, I know, but
okay, hold on. You add. Let me get to Barrister Giwa. Now, I want you to speak as a regular Nigerian. When you look at the fact that a lot of regular Nigerians have come and said, see, we need to look beyond, even though a significant number of them were either on the side of the APC or the PDP, but there's still this talk about looking beyond these people and looking, the APC and the PDP, the people who make up these two major parties, and looking towards the direction of what I would call a new Nigeria, which I believe the likes of Mrs. Atwejide and Mr. Faswa represent. But looking at what transpired, what happened, would you say you're disappointed?
What transpired?
As in how events unfolded within their ranks. Would you say you're disappointed?
I was disappointed. It was expected.
Oh, really?
Yes. You see, that is why I said that it's an act of insanity for you to be in an insane society and want to be sane. You must understand what the system is. First of all, you don't cast votes on social media. I have not seen, I was telling myself, I think Mogalu got 4,000 votes, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he got 33,000.
21,800 votes. Yeah, 21,000, okay, so it was Chris Okotie that got 4,000 votes. 4,000 something of French. And I was shocked that the first time I had Chris Okotie, talking about his election was on TV. And I asked myself, I mean, it is, to me, psychologically, it is provoking. Now, because one, if you are contesting for political position, what you are looking for is political power. Nobody will go into a context and say that, no, I'm going there to sell my idea. No. If you want to sell an idea, you get proposals.
No, you can get a better platform. You can't disparage that. Go and get into it and see how easy it is to get into it. Don't come and talk bull here.
No, sorry, I'm sorry, please. I'm not saying it to actually. I'm just making a general statement. Now, the reason is this: if Nigeria has a lot of issues, and I believe I see a lot of them. With due respect to two of them, I have never taken them seriously. And I think I'm not a politician. I'm a civil rights activist. I have done a lot of things. I have, connected with the people. And the reason is this: like you said, for you to win political power in Nigeria, first of all, you must have a structure. The structure must be fueled, must be oiled with money. Exactly. Even in US, President Trump spent more than $20 million. Do you understand? Are you getting what I'm saying? So you see, outside the world, a lot of people. Hillary Clinton was supported by the owner of Boomers something, with hundreds of millions of dollars. In short, President Donald Trump was accusing.
That is promoting corruption.
Do you understand?
You are promoting corruption.
Mr. Faswa.
We saw billion vans going into people's houses. We saw a plane that was so loaded with money was falling over. Don't promote corruption. People like Barack Obama were there. If you don't come out first, where will you get the funding from? The people have come out. If they didn't get the funding, they didn't get the funding. Don't come here and disparage us. What are you talking about?
Sorry.
I'm done with this discussion.
Sorry. We are not done yet.
If you are doing NGO, you are doing social
Please.
You are deliberately part of the fraud of this country.
Mr. Faswa, please.
Fraud in this country. My friend, don't touch me. All of you are doing NGO. You take yourself and you think you are better than the people that are getting involved.
Mr. Faswa.
You are not better. You are part of the problem.
Sorry. Mr. Faswa.
You are part of the problem.
Mr. Faswa, hold on, please.
Because you are so NGO, you've never got involved.
Mr. Faswa,
millions of people have taken themselves out of the process in this country.
Mr. Faswa, please.
Thank you very much. Let's move on.
Please. I understand the passion. I understand the passion. But please, let's try to be civil, please. Let's try to be civil, please. Let's take the last call we'll take on this show. 070-1057-0088, 070-1057-0909. Or you send us a text message to 070-1057-0025. This is Top Nigeria, a very, very heated edition of it. Let's get to you, Mrs. Treasury. You said you wanted to add to what Mr. Fasua said.
Yes, thank you very much for finally giving me an opportunity.
I've always given you opportunities.
Okay, Tokwe, please don't be upset, but I can guarantee you, I knew these guys personally, I worked with them, I tried hard to convince them. Moghalu was very sure he would be president.
Sorry, before you continue, let's take Jackson. Jackson is calling us from...
Are you sure my mic is on?
It is. Hello, good morning, Jackson. Yes, good morning. Yes, go on, please. You have 90 seconds.
Okay. Even though the discussion is very hot this month, I want to thank all your customers in the studio, and I want to appeal to the one of the presidential candidates. I know it's very painful at this point in time after deploying all energy and resources and then getting this kind of a result. I just want to apologize to him. He should take it very calmly. There is another time. And Nigerians are taking note of him. But I want to say this, that number one of the reasons why the presidential candidate of the PDP and the APC are leading, number one is in the north particularly. Nigerians are very hungry. And I think one of the reasons for this was on purpose, so that at times like this, during electionary periods, money could come out to feed those hungry mouths. And so, if you don't have the money, it's more difficult that you are not going to get anywhere with any success from the election. Number two, in the north, religion is a very big factor that drives people into voting in the north. Religion and illiteracy. A lot of people in the north are...
Jackson, that's an unfair statement to make, please. I'd like you to take that back, please.
I will drop that.
Okay, and you have 10 seconds left.
Yes, I'm so finished. A lot of people in the north are not conversant with Western education, and that can also be attributed to the religious factor in the north.
All right, Jackson, your time is up, please. Your time is up. We're out of time. We're really out of time because I also need to take messages, text messages. I don't think it would be fair if we don't take these text messages. In fact, let me just even take them now before I get the last words from the gentleman and lady in the studio with us this morning. Mr. Fasua is very truthful, patriotic, and a true Nigerian. Tell Barrister Giwa and his PDP that Nigerians will never go back to Egypt. The female guests should stop insulting us and contest for councillorship. Steve from Orozo sent that in. Thank you, presenter. Mr. Fasua's participation has exposed him to the realities, and I wish he continues in this race to better the process. However, this election should be probed for improvement. Amos from Garki sent that in. I want you to continue to enlighten the populace. Election is not a do-or-die affair. Our lives are greater than everything. We should embrace the fear of God by making the incoming governorship election more peaceful. To send shame to evil politicians. Sali Ulugu from Nasarawa sends that in. Presenter in addendum, INEC is... Okay, the first message says, my name is Prince Atadogba Ichaba. Another 4 years is not forever for APC and INEC that deprived my right and all the good citizens of Nigeria to... okay, my cry out now is they should stop killing people in this country. And it says in addendum, INEC is telling us that any party that is not comfortable with the results should go to court. Who owns the court and who is controlling the courts? Okay, I think that's all we can take really because we're out of time and I need to hear from the gentleman and lady for the very last time. Mrs. Atwajide, you were going to say something, so I'd like that to be your last words. And I'm going to ask you a question I'm going to ask them, which you can also answer at the same time. Besides you, from the other candidates, who do you think would probably have made a very good president if he had won?
Very good president, none, but manageable Fela Durotoye.
Okay.
He's the only one that was less self-centered and that was really trying his best to bring everybody else together. He actually believed in doing it together, but he wasn't that selfless enough to say, okay, you people don't want me to lead you, let me join Durotoye, let me join Moghalu or Sowore or Eunice or Tope or whatever. Okay. And I think he could have done that, but he was maybe afraid of what his followers would do or his party would do, but he could have taken it a little further than he did by like, okay, everybody come together, let's pick one person. Okay. Personally, Fela Durotoye is the least tribalistic and the least tyrannical of all of us. Okay. So he would have been my choice.
Let me just ask you one more thing. What did you make of Mrs. Obieze-Kwesili's withdrawal from the race? Quickly, in just 10 seconds.
I think she just came in there to become a bit more popular or whatever. She was never really serious about the race, so there's nothing to say to that.
Okay, Mr. Jacobs, from all the other candidates, with the exception of the two major ones, who do you think would most likely have become a very good president if he had won, if he or she had won?
Let me reserve that comment, that answer, because I have to really go back and look at a lot of things. But this is what I want to say. I guess this can be the last one.
It is.
Yes. But two things. Number one, I really appreciate what they have done. But the question moving forward is this: if it's national interest, we're not going to stop here. The question becomes, what do we do to make the electoral system better? How do we open up the system to more participation, where we can have more enlightened people? What struggle can we put in? If it's for national interest, that's basically what I'm talking about. Because if they pack off from here and go home, then we know, so like in Nigeria, everybody wants to be president. Okay. I want to see what they will do from here. Second thing is what you said, Chris. I'm a very practical person. Let's be very honest. We cannot keep telling Nigerians it's okay, go and vote, next time go and vote. No, we have to give them the reasons why they should. If this government cannot come and tell us that, look, this is what we're going to do to make this process better, then we should come up and begin to talk about it. It's not good enough to say, don't worry, just go and continue voting.
All right, Baisagiwa, the same question to you.
Yes, I will start from the word of the late Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua came up, emerged from an electoral process. And he said, look, I've won the system, but it was not a perfect system. I will do whatever I can to make sure that I improve on it. Talking about what Chris just said. And he set up the waste report. And that is what a lot of people are making reference to. That is leadership. Now, in terms of answering your question on the number of, amongst the, aside APC.
Who would have.
Who would have. Well, I don't have enough material within which to place my opinion on. But one thing I must tell you is that becoming a leader goes beyond your educational profile. You must look at your character. You must look at the strength of your character. So you must look at do you have resistance to?
Are you
listening? Are you a listening person?
All right.
Do you react?
All right.
Those things must play.
All right. Let's get to Mr. First one now. The same question to you. Besides yourself, which of the other candidates did you think would probably have made a very big impact if they had won and become president? And also, let's do this in 30 seconds. Yeah. And also, what did you make of Madam Obieze-Kwesili's withdrawal from the race?
Well, I think Madam Obieze-Kwesili unfortunately just came and played yo-yo on the emotions of people. A lot of people were really ready to support her, and then she left. And before she said she wasn't going to get involved, but she used to be my auntie. Maybe we'll reconcile one day. But that said, I think that beyond rhetoric, Kingsley was someone that was going to do well. I hope he tries again. He invested a lot in that process. I don't think I will try again, at least not immediately. However, I must say that there's nothing wrong if people get involved. We must know that we live in a complex world. There's nothing wrong in getting involved in the process to dump your ideas in the process. What matters at the end of the day is Nigeria getting better. But by whatever means and whatever we can do to make this country get better, forget about power. It's not about power. A lot of people have got that power and they messed up in that Aso Villa. So for people who are ready to kill their mother to get power, we've seen the folly of that. Thank you very much.
I have to say a very big thank you to all of you gentlemen. It has been heated and a very interesting episode of Talk Nigeria. A big thank you to you, Mr. Tope Fasua, the presidential candidate of the ANRP for the 2019 presidential election. It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much,
and
Chris.
Also to Mrs. Eunice Atwejide, who also was the presidential candidate of the NIP, National Interest Party. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Chris.
And to you, Barrister Victor Giwa, thank you very much for coming as well, a lawyer and a political analyst. Thank you very much for coming. And also to Mr. Chidi Jacobs as well, a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. And to all of you out there who listened, and to those of you who called in and sent in text messages, thank you very much. Let's do this again, same time tomorrow. It will be the last edition for the week, but the first for a new month. My name is Chris Ogogwa. We are a Concrete Nation. Now leaving in the hands of Justice Monet and Escal. We are conquerors.